welcome to this episode of the Charter School Connection podcast. I'm your host, Dallin Wortham, and I'm really excited for today's episode. But before we get into who we've invited on this episode, we'll go ahead and just say thank you to our sponsor, Charter Connect, and Pact Class, which was formerly Enrollio, which is an enrollment lottery software built by charter school administrators for charter schools. So now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and give a welcome to our guest. We have Hanifi Oguz, the Executive Director at Beehive Academy, and we're so glad that you're here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, just to make sure, it's Beehive Science and Technology Academy, or is it Beehive Academy?
It is Beehive Science and Technology Academy, but being a long name, sometimes people want like a shorter version, and then we just say Beehive Academy.
Perfect. Well, that's good to know, but I think it's also really important that we include science and technology, because I just maybe a week ago walked around your campus and was blown away by what I saw. I live roughly an hour away from your school, and I was thinking, maybe I need to send my kids here because it's just so amazing, and maybe we should figure out a way to make the commute. I don't know, because I was just so pleased with everything that you're doing there and the focus that your school gives to science and technology, which is right what my kids are looking for. My kids are just little scientists and mathematicians, and so I know that they would just be so happy there. But anyways, before we dive into Beehive Science and Technology Academy, tell us a little bit about you. How did you get involved in the charter school world?
Well, thank you. So I have been in education field for like 27 years, and
Wow.
I have like been involved in schools around the world, and kind of like Southeast Asia being the main area that I was involved, and was doing my exploration of like how I can serve and contribute to the world, especially the education. So United States was my next destinations, and charter schools was kind of like the closest to my personal vision, because I really wanted to impact life of the kids and, bring a great STEM education, because myself, I have STEM background too. And also primarily helping students who have less opportunities, so that I can kind of like impact and create a difference for them. Because of myself, my own personal history. I mean, I'm kind of like from a poor background, and I myself had some of those chances and enjoyed like great education. So I from the first hand, I know how important it is for those kids. So with that, I have searched around like, charter schools, because I felt like I could do that easier and better in those environments. And I ended up in Nevada, and kind of worked 3 years in Nevada, and then shifted to Utah. And last 14 years, I am with the Beehive Academy and trying my best to kind of serve my kids and create a big impact in their life.
That's amazing. I love it. What is the biggest difference or similarities that you've seen? How would you compare education in Southeast Asia versus the education model here in the United States? What were you able to learn there and bring here?
Well, so many things, but for a start, I mean, STEM education is extremely highlighted in those areas, which is great. And the thing is, they have less opportunities. I mean, with very less, they are trying to do big. I think that's my biggest learn, that when I came to United States, since I have been involved in mostly like projects with working with the underserved students, what limited sources that we have, but what best kind of like, outcome we can bring to these kids. So that's really a big learning curve for me, because, in the end, you can have all the labs, you can have all the, opportunities, which is great to have. But if not, then how would you really find a way to create opportunities for those kids? What different partnerships, what different, outreach, or what different, models you can develop that will attract some of those resources and support to those students and their education. So it was a big learning for me to just, know your reality and what we can do to kind of help these kids.
Love it. That's awesome. Well, very, very cool. And what advice would you give to someone who is maybe coming from an international country to the United States and looking to do what you did and start a charter school? if you could go back in time, what tips would you give to your past self?
Well, I will say definitely, the kids are kids anywhere in the world. I mean, they are eager and they are trying to learn, and they just need to be challenged and provided all those opportunities for them. That's kind of like the starting. And also, when you come into the United States, you just need to know that there are so many cultural differences. There are so many, those how the things are being done here, and naturally you need to have some good exposure as well as learn first rather than kind of like jumping in and trying to make a big change. But
Mhm.
at the same time, keep your enthusiasm. I think in United States it's not easy because there are so many requirements, so many kind of legal issues or other things that typically an education leader has to be dealing with. Sometimes those have a hit on you, and you kind of
Mhm.
like slow down some of your enthusiasm you have. So I'll say a good balance of know what you are doing, but at the same time keep that enthusiasm that you have been doing and you want to do. That way you can continue serving your kids and make that big change for them.
I love that. Fantastic. And I can see the enthusiasm that you've been able to maintain just by walking through your school. I invite anyone that listening to this podcast, if they have the chance, to be able to look at what Beehive Science and Technology Academy has done with their building, with their accolades that they've received with their clubs and robotics teams and extracurriculars. It blew me away. And I walked around and I saw classrooms filled with engaged students. And I even walked in on a classroom where maybe there was a little bit of some discipline happening within the classroom. And it was such a positive environment of the teacher and the students talking about what happened, what expectations are. And it was really quick and positive. And then they moved on and they continued with their project. The labs that you have, I was stunned. I was so amazed with what you've achieved. So could you maybe tell us a little bit about what makes Beehive Science and Technology Academy so different from other schools? What got you to where you are today to make something so unique, so cool?
Well, I mean, we can talk hours and hours about Beehive Academy, but in a very nutshell, I can say, apart from the focus of the school that we are trying to bring a great STEM education, world-class STEM education to our students, but also we are trying to really increase the representation of like females in the STEM field and representation of minorities and underserved communities, like students who are from low economic status. So we're really trying to create that great world-class STEM education to bring those communities so that they have a good equity and also a chance to be able to kind of like fulfill their own dreams too. So
Hmm.
it's not only a, probably one of the best STEM education that we are providing, but also we are trying to attract those underserved communities so that they can get a chance as well. So that is kind of our starting point. And also we believe that every kid can do, every kid can succeed. So we just need to create those opportunities and we need to create those support systems in place so that they are able to get those chances. So with that, we really have, brought challenging programs, curriculums, academics, and engagement. That's equally important too, because you can teach a lot of great courses and, provide all those things to your students, but how are you engaging them? Through your
Hmm.
clubs, to your competitive teams, to your other programs, events, and activities. That way, those kids are finding themselves in your environment, in kind of like the school, through like, their own identity, through like, feeling safe, welcomed, appreciated. I think these are equally important too, because you can provide all those things, but if kids are not safe enough or not finding themselves over there or not finding being appreciated and accepted for who they are, then they lose interest and they kind of lose engagement, and then they kind of like don't achieve as much as they could. So that's why we are really trying to balance with the great programs, but at the same time in an environment so that they are able to, put themselves and try their best and achieve.
I love that. And I could see that you mentioned a couple things that not only, you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk as a school, because as I was walking through the hallways, the first thing that I saw was your mission and vision statement. And I believe, I'm not sure if you know it off of the top of your head, I don't recall, but one of the parts was underlined and it was talking about cultural diversity. Do you happen to know your mission and vision statement off the top of your head?
Yes, I mean it's a diverse students of diverse cultures and backgrounds. They achieve excellence in an innovative STEM education environment. So
Yep,
I didn't kind of
that's
use
it.
a full sentences, but this is the heart of it because we believe they need to be provided those excellent educational opportunities, STEM programs with a diverse kind of community perspective of it, and also contributing global citizens. So that's also the huge part how it finishes, because yes, I mean they are from diverse backgrounds, they bring their perspective to the school, they get a great education, but then what do they do for their own communities too? I think being contributing and working for their communities is also equally important for us.
Love it. And as I was walking through, I mean, it's easy to just put up a mission statement on a whiteboard and then do nothing about it. But as I walked through your campus, I saw children of just all different backgrounds. And then the hallways had different scientists or um, engineers from all different countries and genders. And I mean, there were some names that I couldn't pronounce. And the hallways were named after these Middle Eastern or Asian or European scientists. And I thought, man, that is so cool that they are giving respect to people outside of just, Thomas Edison, Benjamin Franklin, like the stereotypical ones that we in America know. And then on top of that, I saw country flags everywhere. And I saw posters of all different people who were video game developers, engineers, scientists, astronauts. And it kind of gave their bio of their name and who they are. And it's just a way for students to be able to see themselves represented in these successful, engineers or scientists. And I just thought, man, if I was a student going to this school, I would feel like I could do it. I could do it too because I'm represented all around this school. So I thought that was amazing.
Thank you. I'll say that it's in the intentionality that makes a huge difference, because you are very right. I mean, right from the beginning, with the mission and vision of the school, the programs, and then even the hallway names, like, who are you portraying over there? Even the role models that you are putting around, even the alumni that you are recognizing, or even, the staff, like, we have a big diversity in our staff as well, because you really want to create an environment, an organic environment that's the staff, the names, the programs, the building, everything is really kind of representing and reflecting who those kids are coming or who they are. So that's really, intentional and kept in mind, so that we want our kids to feel like, oh, this is my environment.
Yeah, for sure. And so I saw a lot of things in your campus, but there's one thing that I saw that was missing. It was boredom. I didn't see any boredom. I saw a whole class coming outside to do a rocket launch out in the playground area. There were buses outside taking students on a field trip. There were laboratories full of kids working intensely on their project. And nobody looked like they were just waiting for the bell to ring or twiddling their thumbs, or I didn't see any just random students just walking around the halls because they had nothing to do. It was so cool to see young people so focused on what they were doing. What tips would you give to a school who's maybe struggling with retaining the attention and focus of their students?
I will say, I mean, certainly everyone has their way of doing things, but engagement, I mean, as you have rightly said, students are engaged with all the great and positive programs. So once they are engaged and once they are enjoying, once the fun element is there, once the element that curiosity and inquiry is kind of there, the kids are learning. I mean, they are so busy, their mind is so working on those elements that the distractions are going to be there, but going to be limited or manageable. So I'll say that the engagement is big piece, like right from, how they are teaching, what teaching strategies and practices you have, what curriculum options are there, what program options are there, course options are there, like any and every aspect of that. So the choice, the options, all those things really are trying to address the interest in the kids. That way they are engaged and they are not kind of like, working on the distractions. And also the cultural aspect of it, I think highlighting positivity. So, I know some schools have PBIS, some of them have different like, models and things, but really bringing that positivity out, recognizing, highlighting the positivity, creating that culture of catching the positive things is equally important. That way kids are kind of working towards, oh, if I am good, I'll be recognized. If I am doing good, then I'm going to be recognized. If I am kind of, using that attention seeking or all those other elements with a very positive approach, that way, you are just encouraging kids to do more and more the positive and better things. So I think the cultural element and your program and design will bring that engagement and hopefully will reduce those distractions that can take away from their learning.
Fantastic. Thank you. I love that. There's one thing that I really want to touch on, but before I touch on it, before we dive into the Utah STEM Expo, was there anything else that you would like to maybe highlight or talk about in regards to Beehive Science and Technology Academy before we get into your awesome expo that you hold on a yearly basis?
I mean, sometimes, people assume that, having demography kind of like, diversity and all that brings down their outcomes or the results, which has an impact. That's a fact. But at the same time, I think what kind of environment and engagement you create that those kids can excel, and it's a testament. I mean, Beehive Academy has been listed #1 high school in Utah by US News for last 4 years, in spite of us having a high, special education population, having a high diverse populations in our school. We kind of pride ourselves on that we are not, in spite of, we are with our kind of like, all those elements that we do. So we are taking that as a richness and kind of like an asset for our school and building on those and trying to do our best. So just wanted to kind of like highlight that Beehive Academy prides itself, not kind of like in spite of, or, oh, this is how it is.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, and I can confirm that that's true. It was amazing walking through the hall and just seeing the accolades, the awards that you've been given on a state level and on a national level. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for all the hard work that your whole staff is doing. It's making a big difference. Well, great. Tell us a little bit about the Utah STEM Expo and how people can participate and when the date is, and tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. I mean, our kids being in a project-based like school, we expect and ask all of our students, including kindergarten, including, the students with the extreme disabilities, to be able to, develop their projects, because these STEM projects are interdisciplinary and they are required to do extensive research, demonstrate, like, all the different parts of those projects that they have to do. And also we want to include like 21st century skills, like creative thinking, problem solving skills, communications, because they're required to be sharing those projects with others. They are required to develop, YouTube projects, or they are required to develop websites for those and communicate. And also we are requiring our students to be able to share publicly those like projects through social media, as well as participating in the events and physically kind of being present there and sharing with the others, because that will have a huge impact on their communication skills and other, personal development skills too. So from that angle, we have come up with the idea 12 years back with an event called Utah STEM Expo. That way our students will be able to go and present their old projects and activities that they have been developing, but at the same time, a huge venue and, a portal that we can invite other kids too, because that opportunity shouldn't be only for our own kids. And really, we have extended that invitation to all the schools and other organizations as well. So there are so many schools who are participating to demonstrate, to be involved, as well as so many universities and other organizations are also participating, so that they can bring those industry connections or the higher education connection to our students and the community as well. So it's a huge event. It's a free public event, and this year it's gonna be on February, and we typically do in January, but this year we planned it's gonna be good to have on February. So February 22nd, it is in the Mountain America Expo Center, and starts from 11, goes up to 2 p.m. Around 5,000-6,000 people attend. It's a huge event, and it's amazing because kids are demonstrating. It is done by kids for the kids. So not only our own community members, but we really extend invitation to the large communities as well, that they can come and participate and see what these kids are doing and be inspired with that STEM education. So we extend the invitations to everyone who is listening, and we'll be happy to have them at that event.
Yeah, I know that me and my family will be there. We will, in the show notes, add a link to the Utah STEM Expo website so that people can go and gather more information and watch videos. If you watch the video, it's just the kids are having so much fun just doing science and engineering projects and learning from other students, and it looks like a blast. So we will add more information in the show notes. So if you're interested in that, you can go to their website and learn more. Great. Mr. Oguz, this has been fantastic. Anything else that you would like to touch on in regards to tips, tricks, ideas, thoughts, comments for other charter school administrators that are just trying to make their school better before we wrap up?
I appreciate the opportunities. I really enjoyed, and I just want to say, I appreciate all the educators. I know how hard it is that we are trying for our kids, and sometimes they are not as appreciated as they should be. I just want to say my heartfelt thanks to all the educators that they do what they do for their kids.
Love it. Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Oguz. Have a great rest of your day, and just thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.